So thanks for checking out my video. I've put together a list of things that I think are gonna help you land your first remote job. And I'm filming this early in the morning, so I've got my robe on and my morning cup of coffee, so happy morning to you. Before I begin, please hit that subscribe button and like button. It's been a dream of mine to build a YouTube community. I feel like YouTube has so much use in it as we move forward into 2023. So if you do hit that subscribe button and like button, I would really appreciate it, and you would be helping me out a lot. And I hope to help you out and earn your subscription and provide content for you that you find really useful and helpful. I love being part of the YouTube community, and I truly love contributing and want to give back to the YouTube community like I've learned from and taken from YouTube over all these years. But enough about that. Thanks for your attention on that. Let's get into some tips that I think. I've got 7 here and maybe a bonus or 2 that I feel will help you land your first job. Many have been looking for their first remote job, and I've had people ask me how to get their first remote job. And every now and again I run into a recent college grad who's kind of crazy enough to think that their first job out of college might be remote. And there might be some that get pretty lucky depending on what you've done in college. I can't make any promises that these tips will land you your first job, but they definitely helped me in finding my first remote role. Here are 7 tips that will help you find your first remote job. And I want to put a caveat to begin with this. Obviously, you have a higher likelihood of landing a remote job and being successful at it, because even if you get the remote job, you need to be successful at that, or you may find yourself jobless. You need to really be a proven performer and someone who has a consistent track record, because bosses may be apprehensive about sending people home still, especially as more and more people get into the office, but sending people home who may not be a proven performer. But also for your own sanity, especially starting a brand new job might be tough, so maybe it's better. Tip number 1, and it might sound kind of crazy, but you might be able to take your current role remote or hybrid. You can have your discussion with your supervisor or boss, look around what others are doing in your company and in your industry, and potentially convert your role over from hybrid to remote, or from in-office to hybrid or to remote. You know, it may not hurt to ask, but you also know what kind of relationship you have with your supervisor or boss, so tread lightly here. Don't blame me if it backfires, but it may be worth having that conversation. Again, I go back to, if you're not a proven performer or have a strong track record and history and background with your company, it may be pretty tough to have this conversation with your boss and provide really good reasons why you should go remote or hybrid. And then when you do have this discussion, obviously talk about productivity and not only making your life a little happier and work-life balance a little easier, but also talking about how you're so much more in the zone when there's less distractions. Obviously, offices can have distractions like, the water cooler chat, but have that discussion with your supervisor and see what they say. My second tip is maybe it's time for a career change, or look for a role that you have other experience in that has a lot of remote roles. There are certain roles and jobs that just don't have remote roles available, like factory work. But a lot of things like IT, healthcare support, project management, sales, remote closer, HR, just IT in general have a lot of these types of roles. So maybe it's time to switch over to the IT PM role you've been looking for. Number 3, and this goes a little crazy, but a great way to have your own remote role is to start your own company. Now, having online, starting a side hustle, or maybe it's time to take that side hustle from just a side hustle to your mainstream job. Again, you're at the mercy when you apply for jobs for the person who's picking that employer, but when you start your own job, there are risks involved as well, but you can start your own company and create your own at-home role. Tip number 4, find some type of job. If everything doesn't sound great to you, at least finding a job to apply for on LinkedIn Jobs or any of the other Google Jobs. If you literally just search remote jobs near me, you might be able to find a role that's what you're already doing that another company has for a remote role. And recruiters can be a great resource as well, but again, certain recruiters only work with certain groups of people. I'm an IT recruiter right now, and we only generally work with project managers and people in the IT space. So you may not be able to find a recruiter, but it doesn't hurt to try. It also doesn't hurt to use remote jobs near me in a Google search, and that's probably one of the best tools I've seen to find remote jobs. But finding a remote job that's very similar or the same as you're doing now with another company would be a great way for you to find another remote role. And for all you employers out there, if you have the ability to send your employee on a remote or hybrid schedule and they have that discussion with you, give them a chance, see if it works. Number 5, if you don't want to start your own company, but you have a lot of skills, and again, you want to turn that side hustle to your main hustle, Fiverr or a lot of the other job sharing websites seem to be a great thing that's still viable for remote work, freelance work. You could also be video editing. There's quite a few things that you could do on Fiverr. I suggest you get on there, check it out, and that might be a great way for you to make a living or at least a lot of extra side money or some side money while you go and find maybe another remote job. But Fiverr seems to be a great freelance opportunity or any of the other freelance opportunities. At one point I did try TaskRabbit. Wasn't very happy with it, but maybe it's changed. Maybe you'll have more luck with it. Freelance handyman. If you are a handy persons are in high demand right now, and I can show you a ton of resources, especially if you ever wanted to start your own handyman business. I've got a lot of insight. I used to run my own. So yeah, reach out to me, DM me, and we can talk. I feel like that's a very, 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 very lucrative business, and there's a huge need for that, especially moving forward. My number 6 tip, and this is a little bit more aggressive, I'll be real honest with you. If you cannot ask your boss to convert your role, then maybe you should suggest your whole company try it or move to a hybrid schedule. But this is something with some of the other companies that I've seen is that the employees have talked with the employers and they've worked out some type of hybrid or remote schedule, and it has worked out. Again, some of these towards the end are getting a little bit more far-fetched. Obviously, it's pretty straightforward if you're looking for a remote job, find a remote job, but maybe you like your current role, you've talked to your boss, but maybe it's also time for you to lobby all of the people that you work with together. And obviously you want to approach this very respectfully, and at least try and give it a trial period. This is becoming a little bit more challenging now because there are a lot of companies that are going back to a completely in-person or hybrid, but there's still a chance, especially with smaller companies, that you can convince the entire company to go remote or hybrid or some type of rotational basis. I think applying for a job that's similar, starting a new job or starting a freelance or your own company is a much better way than doing this, but depending on what company you work for or group you work with, this might be a viable option because maybe you're a small company and you can talk to the entire company in one room. You never know. My 7th tip is a little bit more obscure as well, and this might not be something that you've ever thought of, but if you want to work for yourself, you don't want to necessarily work for another company on your own on their terms, but you have a really good skill set, you might think about being a remote consultant. Here's a for instance, let's say you're a computer programmer, you don't want to start your own company, but you do want to work in that space and work remote. You can start to look for either in a 1099 status, kind of your own company space, or as a contractor through a company such as mine. You can start to work remote contracting and be on short-term or long-term contracts, and then putting something in there like, I want to be remote all the time. It might be a viable option. It's kind of a hybrid of everything. You're working for yourself as a contractor and or working with a firm that deals with contracting, and then you are farmed out, or you're tasked to, contracted out is the appropriate term, you are contracted out to other companies to work in a remote status or maybe hybrid status as a contractor on an hourly rate, doing what you may or may not already be doing. It's pretty hard to jump from, let's say you're a service desk and you want to go be a programming, a C# backend dev. That might be a little bit hard of a jump, so you're going to need a few years of experience, and you can do this on your own. Let's say you want to start your own company and you don't want to maybe start a granola company, you want to do, just as an example, but you want to do an IT, this might be a very viable option for you to go and kind of test the water, see how things are, and learn about how you can work for yourself while working through a contracting agency. Again, if you ever wanted to get into contracting, if you've got a proven track record and tons of experience in one particular field, please message me and we can talk about this. There's tons and tons and tons of options for you. I think it's really cool, and I would love to do it one day as well. And finally, it's a freebie here. All of these could backfire and you could find yourself being laid off or downsized after your company sees you try to formulate a revolt. I'm joking, of course, but you could find yourself jobless. Looking for a remote job potentially you could find yourself jobless, or let's say the inevitable happens and you may or may not get laid off. You could be looking for a job from home. And I go back to that could be your full time, and you can do some type of mixture of all of these things so that you can pay your bills, make ends meet. But there's lots of opportunity out there. I've never seen anyone be completely unhireable, and I'm assuming that there are some people out there and there might be some personal problems. But if you have a proven track record of employment and are uninjured and of sane mind without any substance abuse issues, I'm fairly confident you'll always be employed. So, that being said, all of these could backfire and you could find yourself looking for a job from home, and that becomes your full-time job. Obviously, marketing yourself and finding freelance work to do while you are out and about looking for jobs, using resources like LinkedIn Recruiter, job application posts, or technical or just regular recruiters, Google job search. You'll be doing this. You can also be doing things like DoorDash or Uber or Lyft or any of these other freelance work jobs while you're looking for a job. But a couple tips when you do start to look for any of these jobs, whether you're forced to or want to start looking for your dream remote job, be sure that you are looking at real job postings and be sure that you're applying for the right things. If you find a job posting that's too good to be true, it may be. Look through the descriptions and see if it's general terms or very specific. If you are applying for, just as an example, a developer job, make sure the developer role is on that company's website, or research the company that has posted it. Use trusted sources like LinkedIn or Google Job Search, or Indeed. Some of these other websites get your resumes to weird places. I've applied for jobs a few years ago, and I still get random calls, and I can only hope that I've applied to legitimate places. I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I'm also pretty against, until you have talked with the people you're working with, you should not be putting your social security number into a job application until you've talked to some people and done a little research. I mean, obviously, if you really like the job and you think you like the company, use at your own discretion. But be careful who you're applying for, because I have seen scam job posts. And I've also seen, especially for entry-level roles, if recruiting companies just collecting personal information to find people who might be interested in roles in the future, but really don't have roles open at the time. I don't know. I just be careful, and if you ever need help with it, you can always message me, and if I see it, which I'm always looking for messages, I'll definitely tell you if I think it's real or not. I'll not give you my 2 cents. But my caution is, always go through the company website, and if you do find a job on some type of social media platform, I truly trust LinkedIn, but I have seen some of the scammy or questionable job postings on there as well. If it's vague, if it's too vague, do a lot of research. And I do want to say that, unfortunately, if you're in the manufacturing, service, or labor industry, you're probably not able to do remote, and it kind of sucks. But you're also some very important people, so I appreciate what you do, and I know that some people who are knowledge workers or work with computers can be remote, but for all you construction and factory and service people out there, we really do appreciate what you do, and you're doing a really vital service, and you're truly important. Hey all, thanks for watching. I really appreciate your time and attention. Like I said at the beginning of the video, please subscribe and hit the like button. Comment if you liked any of these tips below, or if you think I should add any more, or how you might have found your first remote job. I really do appreciate your time and attention, and if you did subscribe, thank you. You're helping me build my dream community here on YouTube. Grow together, build something together, share ideas, improve ourselves, our lives, our families' lives, and make the world a better place. So I really appreciate your subscription. But as always, thanks for your time and attention, as I said, and I'll catch you on the next one.